I'm Jody Horning. I've been an LAP teacher in Wayne Township for the last 6 years. I am a traveling teacher for English learners. I go to Rhoades Elementary, Chapel Hill 7th and 8th, Sanders School, and I go to the private schools in Wayne Township. I love being a teacher because I meet so many interesting people. Today, I want to tell you about the astronaut Jose M. Hernandez. There's a new Amazon movie, A Million Miles Away, that came out just a few days ago. And there's Jose will be in the news a lot in the next few days. There's also his autobiography that he has written, The Inspiring Story of a Migrant Farm Worker Turned Astronaut. So here is his story. Jose was born in California in August of 1962. He was the youngest of 4 children. Every year, his family would leave central Mexico in March and drive to Southern California, where the whole family would work picking crops like strawberries, cucumbers, or tomatoes. They worked all through spring, summer, and fall. And then they would drive for 2 days back in December to Mexico, and they'd stay for about 3 months. So they were a migrant family, which means they were moving frequently. The pattern was they would spend about 9 months picking crops in California, and then they'd be home in Mexico for about 3 months. So during the time that Jose was in school, when the family was traveling so much, there were about 3 or 4 schools that he attended for a short time each year in California. But he was always moving with his family, and so that interrupted his learning. He says that he wasn't really fluent in English until he was about 12. And around that time, his family settled in Stockton, California. Jose says that he always loved math and science in school. And when he was around 7 or so, he remembers when his family was watching a spacewalk on TV. He tells a funny story about the family had him help with viewing the TV with the antenna. But when he saw the spacewalk, he knew that he wanted to be an astronaut in the future. He also tells the story that during high school, he was working one summer, and it was summertime, so he'd been working 7 days a week in the field. He remembers being hot and tired in the dusty field, and everyone listening to the radio. The news came on that Dr. Franklin Chang Diaz would be the first Hispanic American astronaut. And he said that was a really inspiring moment because he thought, oh, that's what I want to do. And so after he graduated from high school, he went to the University of the Pacific in California to study electrical engineering. And then after he graduated, he studied technology and engineering at the University of California. After graduating, he worked as a scientist in some labs in California. And one of the important things that he worked on was laser technology that would help detect cancer in patients. And hopefully early detection would help more successful treatments for people who have cancer. So during that time, he has written that there are no shortcuts to making your dreams come true. During the time that he was working in the labs, he would apply to NASA to be accepted into their program. So he applied 11 times and was rejected. And some of those times he didn't feel like applying again, but his wife and his children would encourage him to keep on applying. And on the 12th attempt, NASA accepted him. So in 2001, he started training for NASA. He learned things like space survival skills, mathematics, robotics, weather, meteorology, physics. And in 2006, he was accepted into astronaut candidate training. He trained for 3 years there, and in 2009, he joined a 14-day space mission. The crew went to the International Space Station. So he's famous for being the first person to use the Spanish language in space. He's also famous for a quote during an interview when he was in space. He said, "I enjoyed seeing Earth without boundaries." So here's a news clip from that time that tells a little bit of Jose's story and about the mission.
You're up there because you're floating, you're flying. And so it's the greatest feeling in the world.
We have a go for main engine start.
August 28th, 2009.
Booster ignition and liftoff of Discovery.
The Space Shuttle Discovery lifts off from Cape Canaveral, Florida, to the International Space Station. On board with the 6 other shuttle astronauts, 47-year-old Jose Hernandez, Stockton Franklin High School and University of the Pacific graduate, but his road to get there wasn't easy.
NASA rejected me not once, not twice, not even 3 or 4 times. It was 11 times. It wasn't until the 12th time that I was finally asked to be part of the 19th class of U.S. NASA astronauts.
Jose came from very humble beginnings, an immigrant from Mexico, a migrant farm worker as a kid, picking tomatoes in a field like this one near 8 Mile Road in Lodi.
Traveling from one town to the next, picking crops, one day his father made sure Jose watched the Apollo 17 mission in 1972. And to see it clearly, Jose was tasked with holding the antenna to get a clearer picture on the TV.
I always tell my dad that that's why I became an astronaut, because I was holding onto the antenna watching astronaut Gene Cernan walk on the moon.
But his father gave him a more important lesson one day in the family car after a day of hard work. He wanted him to think about the difficulties of life in the fields versus getting an education.
He said, yeah, I'm not going to force you to go to school, much less get good grades. But if you're wondering what your future's like without an education, he said, welcome to your future.
Jose listened and went to college, becoming an astronaut. But he says his biggest accomplishment? He co-developed the first full-field digital mammography imaging system for early detection of breast cancer.
It has saved thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of lives.
Now more of a down-to-earth guy, Jose runs his nonprofit.
Jose spent about 10 years working for NASA, and he now directs a technology company in Texas. He's a multi-millionaire, and he ran for Congress in California. He says that he's interested in running for politics again and might be a political candidate in the future. I love Jose's story. I like that funny family story about him holding the antenna, because I like stories like that. I like that he tells a message about keep going even if it's difficult. On a more serious note, he has written that when he was younger, he felt the people were prejudiced against him. He said that people would say that in Mexico, they would say that he was too American to be Mexican. And in America, they would say he was too Mexican to be American. He says he had trouble fitting in and that it was difficult to make friends. But he just kept thinking about his future. So he was literally dreaming about the stars. So I think that's such a powerful message about not giving up on your dreams. And I hope that you'll be able to watch the movie A Million Miles Away, or maybe find an article or book about Jose M. Hernandez. And I hope that it will inspire you to dream something really big. Thank you.